for so many people that suffer from Crohn's disease or colitis, it's not an easy topic for them to talk about. And I know people who suffer from Crohn's disease, and it's important to have this conversation and to continue it now more than ever in the middle of a pandemic. Joining us now on the Oakland County MegaCast is Melissa Greer. She's the executive director for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation Michigan chapter. Thank you for being with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Thank you for having me today.
Melissa, if we can just start out the conversation with talking a little bit more about Crohn's disease. What are the symptoms and what is the disease for those not familiar?
Crohn's disease is an inflammation in your digestive tract, and that can be inflammation anywhere from your mouth to your bottom. So it's really a difficult disease to pinpoint it many times because the inflammation could be different on every person. And just like the source of inflammation can be different, symptoms vary in every one of our patients. The most common seem to be abdominal cramping, some bathroom frequency and urgency, sometimes blood in stool, but they go as far as to major fatigue, psoriasis and skin issues, arthritis. It's an autoimmune disease, so Crohn's disease is, it's attacking your immune system and creating a multitude of issues. And there's no cookie cutter symptom for this disease.
And I think I read somewhere where as many as 780,000 Americans are impacted by Crohn's disease. And while you can be diagnosed at any age, it's typically for people between the ages of 15 and 35. But when you have so many different symptoms, do you feel like a lot more people are impacted by Crohn's than the numbers even show?
Yeah, it's pretty significant. We are a combined Crohn's and ulcerative colitis number in a recent study is over 3 million are affected by inflammatory bowel disease, and a lot of those instances they're being misdiagnosed, and people aren't talking about it. People aren't getting the care that they need. So we believe that there's a much larger number of patients out there that we just don't know about. We're getting better about getting awareness out so that people are familiar, and we're getting better at diagnosing this, but we still have a ways to go.
And with that, we often hear Crohn's and colitis. What is the difference between the two?
Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are commonly defined as inflammation, but as I mentioned, Crohn's can be anywhere from your mouth to your bottom, and colitis, the inflammation is specifically in your colon. So it's the symptoms are a lot of times the same, or as I mentioned, they vary, but it's the source of inflammation that's really the difference in the two.
Joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast is Melissa Greer. She's the executive director of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation Michigan chapter with us today on the Oakland County MegaCast. And Melissa, throughout this pandemic, of course, the focus in the medical community has primarily been on those with immediate medical needs, heart attack, stroke, and of course COVID-19 as well has been a major focus in the medical community. As far as treatment for COVID, as far as treatment during the pandemic, how have people with Crohn's disease and colitis fared in receiving their treatment? Has it been impacted at all by the pandemic, and maybe what lasting effects could that impact have, if any?
Well, our biggest message too that we can give our patients is to continue medications. And now that people aren't leaving their homes, so many times our patients are nervous about going to get their infusions or seeking their medical care because their immune systems are compromised. So of course they're more they might be more susceptible to the COVID. So they're not wanting to leave their homes. Many are missing their treatments and their scheduled appointments. So their disease, they're going into flare-ups and setting themselves back. Our biggest message is for them to get to their infusions. We do have a lot of times insurance will offer infusion nurses to come to homes. our need has not changed. We're still, COVID didn't, make Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis go away. Our research hasn't stopped. We're still, we've had to switch a little bit to see how COVID would impact our patients. But our biggest message is to still get their treatments no matter what's going on.
Melissa Greer with us on the Oakland County Megacast, the Executive Director of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation Michigan chapter. So with that, if people are not going in and getting these treatments or not getting these infusions for Crohn's and colitis out of fear for potentially catching COVID-19 in the process, what negative impacts could that possibly have on them and on the treatment of these conditions, and thus leading to why your organization has been so adamant about encouraging these people to get their infusions despite the pandemic going on?
When patients begin missing infusions or any other scheduled treatments, they're offering an opportunity for that inflammation to come back. Many of our treatments and their infusions are focused directly on reducing inflammation. And when the inflammation comes back, our patients go into flares. And flares are defined by their symptoms really coming back, the cramping, the fatigue. Some of our patients with these flare-ups aren't able to leave their homes, or really, and many of us aren't leaving our homes right now, but really aren't able to live a productive life at all. And so by delaying those treatments and getting off schedule, they're really setting themselves up to go back into flares and not being able to live their lives as they normally would.
Melissa, I know that your organization also does fundraising events. How has that been impacted in the middle of a pandemic?
It's been a tricky year. And most of our in-person fundraisers take place in quarters 3 and 4. And we've had to do a complete 180. Our fundraising need has not stopped, as you can imagine. We're a nonprofit, so we're solely relying on donors and fundraising dollars. Like many organizations, we've moved our fundraising efforts from in-person to virtual efforts. And we have walks and dinners and even a spin event and a flag football tournament that our team has been really creative at creating alternative methods of fundraising. Our walks our funds are raised by individual patients and caregivers, and they're still asking people to sponsor them, and they're still asking people to donate to the cause, strictly based on the notion that our need is no different than it was before. We did hold a virtual dinner where we had a 45-minute program for donors to log in, learn about the message, have a brief comedy show, and then we still have the silent auction and the live auction, and we're really relying on our major donors to continue to fund our support. And as we're looking into 2021, we're beginning to make plans for continued virtual support, as we're not sure what we're faced with. So we've been lucky. Our supporters have remained true to our cause, and we hope that continues moving forward.
Do you think there has been a positive that has come out of this that maybe will help you going forward, such as the virtual platform?
I do. I think that we've been forced to look at our communication efforts and our fundraising efforts in a different way. But I think that it's given us an opportunity to reach even more people. Many times, because we were doing things in person, we were limited to the people that could attend. And now we're reaching a whole new level or a whole new group of people. Some of our northern patients and in the Upper Peninsula have been able to participate and really feel a part of the community because we've been able to involve them directly. I almost think that moving forward, even when things go back to normal, whenever that might be, that we may even look at doing some hybrid versions with our fundraisers, offering an in-person component, but continuing with that virtual so that we can really embrace our entire community and not just the ones that we can see face to face.
For some people, this is not an easy health topic to talk about. Do you think because of the pandemic and people are at home more, that it allows them to go online and maybe if they have some of the symptoms, Google the symptoms, and then this comes up, and so possibly more people are being helped?
we certainly hope that that's something they might be doing, and we're certainly taking, doing a lot of opportunities to create that awareness. So as people are watching, TV more and doing a little bit more research, this might be an option that they come across. We're also doing some continuing education for medical providers. Many people that are the physicians that our patients are primarily seeing are IBD specialists. And we're trying our best to educate primary care physicians and general practitioners so that they are aware of what Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis looks like. And so we're taking opportunities right now to get that education to them so that they can better diagnose patients when they come to them with the symptoms I mentioned earlier.
Melissa Greer with us. She's the executive director for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, the Michigan chapter. Before we let you go, anything we didn't ask or touch on that you want to share with the viewers and the listeners?
I think the biggest thing is just Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis affect 3 million people, and it's unfortunately that it's on the rise. And we just want people to know that there is a foundation here to support for education needs and support group needs. We're doing research to find cures, and we just want to create that awareness and let people know that they've got a home and that we're here for them. And thank you for your time.